Yes, you and then you.
Yeah,
Yes,
how
sir.
did you manage? I mean, obviously, a lot of these countries have their own languages, and how did you manage the whole translation issue?
That was,
Language and
unfortunately, we had to restrict it to English. Now, in some cases, because on our team we had a Spanish speaker and I speak French, we did help a few at least get the story correctly in English. But that was mainly, it was a fairly feeble effort in terms of, I read this, but do you actually mean that? And because we were, native speakers, we could help them. But unfortunately, it was restricted to English. And what we hope is that a bigger effort can actually be made to accommodate some of the largest language, the most frequently spoken languages: English, French, Spanish, Arabic, um, and a
I
few.
had a follow-up question in terms of
Sure.
access to computers versus a lot of countries like India. Actually, mobile devices are much more prevalent than computers. So, do you have a way? Are you planning as the next phase to kind of bring it down to a form factor where people can access on mobile devices?
I can't answer that. I'm not USAID. I work for the contractor that implemented this. But that's a very good point, which I will definitely pass on to
I'm
Dr.
curious
Young.
what mechanisms you used to get the word out to get people for your crowdsourcing. So how did you market it? How did you get the word out that you wanted people to come participate?
We work through several networks, such as KM for Dev, that has worldwide comment est-ce qu'on dit ça? Membership, and asked, their members. We worked through organizations here and asking them to send it out to their projects. And in some cases, it was purely, and also word of mouth. And as I mentioned, we got a few taps from, places like Northern Sudan and the DRC. So we were fairly sure that, we were reassured that the reach was, was wide, yes. But the language was definitely a problem. Yes, ma'am.
Question on your knowledge capture, you had a VC, what's VC?
A value chain.
What is that?
And that is, the idea of taking a product, let's say if we're talking about the value chain of a certain fruit like avocado. So it's everything from the process of growing it, harvesting, and getting it to market. So everything that needs to be put in place for that to be a success. Yes?
Yes, I noticed there was a map of the world there of the different countries that had participated, and I was really impressed that Sudan, participated. But yet I noticed that in Central America I don't think there were any dots, and Latin America in general seemed a little bit sparse. So I'm just wondering if you looked into what were the reasons why some countries had quite a bit of response and others not as much or none. Just wondering if you had looked into that.
We've started looking into that, and one of the things that has come out is the language was definitely something that was a barrier. And also in many of the countries, like you saw a lot in Africa, half of those were linked to international organizations, so that there was an English speaker somewhere in the staff, if you will, that helped that, yes. And that will definitely inform a future a future effort, if you will. Because most of the stories that we got from Latin America were definitely from people whose first language was Spanish, and English came a distant second.
Of course,
Yes.
yes. Thank you.
Okay, from a
Yes?
from a technology standpoint, I know you said you work for the contractor, right? So, are you using different? Do you have any technology direction that you're going from utilizing KM on all your projects, or in terms of as a company that you work for?
Well, definitely. IRG has knowledge management across all its projects. Now, IRG works in everything from agriculture, health, microenterprise development. I actually thought you were going to ask me, how did we make sure that people could actually access that? Because and I'd like to respond to that because we made the website as simple as possible. We wanted to make sure that somebody in Togo who's still working, with 300 board connection, could actually, access it and input their information, without too much trouble. So the idea there was to keep it low on the high graphics and all those wonderful things that we're very much used to here. Yeah, but in terms of the organization, yes, KM is, runs throughout all our activities.
When was this done? What was the time frame of the study?
The time frame of the challenge was December 1st to January 30th, 2010, 2011. Yes.
So you said they're going to come, or somebody's coming, to build a community?
Well, no, what we call community, there's already a virtual community, if you will, but the idea, what we would like to see happen with that is the challenge is completed. We're going to have a 2-day event where we will gather, people and their stories and explore more in depth some of the tools, some of the challenges. But what we hope will happen is that this then will take on, if you will, a life of its own, so that they continue, so that they've formed a learning community and they will continue to keep in touch with each other and to learn and to exchange practices, and also to feed us with, their successes, challenges.
So do you think that, and bear with me if my
Sure.
question is stupid, but I tend to be that way. When you get them together, realizing that you still got to work out some stuff because it hasn't happened yet, do you envision that the platforms that you will be using to support your community will include some of the existing ones? In other words, like the social networking communities or others, or do you anticipate building a separate?
No. You definitely using existing ones. Because I think, there are many tools out there that work quite well.
Well, I mean, just as an example to the gentleman in front of me's question, a lot of those existing ones have the language software translation capability. That's why I asked the question. It helps get it out in a language that people understand. And I just didn't know if you were going down a separate pipe or whether you're going to leverage what's already there.
No, we definitely will leverage what's already there. Now, to tell you concretely what's going to happen, I can't, because we're actually asking the community to dictate where they want to go, from here. Yes?
So who initiated this project and why?
USAID initiated the project.
Who in? Upper management? At what level within USAID and why? Is somebody looking for economic justifications for anything here?
Stacy Young is a senior advisor for knowledge management, and she works out of the Microenterprise Development Office. And this initiative originated out of there. Now, why? Because there's a growing interest in USAID around knowledge management, but then there is also that question of, it sounds good, it feels good, is it worth it? And that was the main reason why this was started.
What department is that in?
The Microenterprise Development Office.
They actually did an announcement for CTO in that organization.
Someone else had their hand up. In the back with the black shirt, you had a...
When you started, it sounded like you guys were doing your crowdsourcing to determine what types of metrics you could collect to prove success for your own initiative, right?
Yes.
So now you've collected these stories, which are available on your website. Were you able to get what you needed out of that and then prove success within your own initiative that way, or is it just now a data collection process?
It's more a data mining process, I would say. There's also one of the things that might come out of that is we may actually ask a few organizations to actually test one or two of the methods that have come at the top and report to the larger community. Because there are all these methods that have come up. Some look more promising than others, if you will. But now we really need to take them apart and really see if they work as they're supposed to, and what are the optimal ingredients, if you will, to make them work. I don't know if there are any development practitioners, but if I would like to, if possible, hear from some of you how you have um, tackled this challenge, if at all, in terms of getting at the return on investment in KM activities.
Something that you might get value out of is get the attendee list from the conference board, and you can send your exact same survey out to the people who are attendees, and
Oh, yes,
you
actually.
probably get a very rich set of data back, and most of us speak English, so. And we're all very opinionated, yes. So,
Opinionated English speakers, just what we need, yes. Thank you, that's a great idea.
sure.
Yes, sir?
I have a question. The unconference, I'm actually was invited to attend that tomorrow. And what should I be looking for? Because I'm not presenting anything, and I couldn't figure out what I would be contributing. Are they going to talk about the cases and then get opinions and advice and insight from whoever's there to discuss? Is that the idea?
That is part of the idea. Why did you register for the unconference?
Sounded interesting. It was a different kind of a project that I'm used to seeing in knowledge management. I wanted to expose myself to it.
Okay. Well, great. And I think, I mean, there'll be a series of presentations from the case story authors, and there'll also be discussions around some of the some of the tools that have emerged. And really, it's going to be an open forum. Questions, suggestions.
There won't be a lot of presentations like this. It has to be people talking about actually
Yes, it will not be.
practicing knowledge management, right?
Right, no, it will not be from somebody to the rest. It's going to be a very interactive forum, yeah.
Thank you.
Just
Yes.
an observation
sorry.
on my end, in terms of lessons learned from us, is in that cycle that you had,
Yes.
and I'm just saying it to say it, you probably already picked up on it, and that was to not underappreciate the opposite end of that knowledge flow. In other words, how much is USAID learning from the folks that are generating this, the other way around, as opposed to the traditional thought process where knowledge trickles on down into those folks that should learn, when in fact, 75% of the time, we ought to be learning from the folks on the other end. I just think that's a thing to measure that will give you a lot of value in terms of the organization, USAID in itself, and the elements there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we tried to get at that a little bit when I talked about the way we used to do it and how we're doing it now. We're no longer build, they will come, the world will be a better place. But it's, if you will give space, they will come and we will build it together. Yes?
Yeah, something that I observed while doing some projects with the World Bank that may be beneficial. And it sort of piggybacks a little bit on what you said earlier about giving the women in some of the villages iPods in order to share, and be able to actually share their stories back, is what they did is they embedded these activities and providing this feedback into their folklore. So they made it so that the stories had to be shared within the community as well, the lessons learned,
Right.
not just back to a reporting agency, but actually becoming part of their own culture and embedding it as part of a new practice for their folklore. So there's a book, the knowledge that the World Bank published actually as a consequence of that. I believe it's called Knowledge Management in Daily Folklore. And
Okay.
it just